Logan, what's the most awkward, embarrassing moment that's happened to you recently?
Not that I can think of.
Well, I had one. The most embarrassing 2 seconds of my life happened in a hallway. Not 2 minutes, not 2 hours, 2 seconds. Someone asked me a question, and I didn't catch it. And in those 2 seconds, my brain ran through the whole thing. Should I ask? Is it weird to ask again? I already asked once. Will they think my English is bad? And while all of that was happening,
The other person was still talking.
I missed the next 3 sentences. I just nodded and hoped they wouldn't ask me anything directly. That happened to me more times than I want to admit. And almost every time, the problem wasn't the English. It was that I didn't have the right phrase ready for that 2 second window. Stay with us.
This is Easy English with PJ. I'm Logan.
And I'm PJ. Let's get into it. Before we get to the phrases, I want to say something. If you go quiet when you don't understand, that is not a character flaw. It makes complete sense.
It really does. Because asking again feels risky.
Right. There's this fear. If I ask them to repeat, they'll know my English isn't perfect. And suddenly, asking feels like an announcement. Like you're saying, "Hi, I'm struggling," and so you stay quiet instead.
Yeah. When I was learning, I used to just laugh and nod and hope the topic changed before anyone asked me anything.
And here's what most learners don't realize. The other person, the one you're afraid to ask, they're not judging you. They're just talking. They've already moved on in their head. And if you ask them to clarify something, most of the time their reaction is something like, "Oh, sorry, let me say that again."
Not something like, wow, your English is terrible.
Never. And I'll tell you what's genuinely harder to recover from than asking once.
What?
Nodding through a whole conversation you didn't understand. I had a student once. His manager gave him instructions before a meeting. He nodded, said yes, and then showed up to the wrong room, wrong floor, wrong building.
That's my story. You're telling my story right now.
I know. And what would have fixed the whole thing?
One question. 10 seconds.
So the mindset shift is this. Asking isn't proof your English is weak. It's proof you're taking the conversation seriously. And that's what people remember. Not the question, the fact that you cared enough to ask it. Okay, first, can we talk about one thing people accidentally do? Because it's the clearest way to show what we're aiming for.
Ugh, I know where this is going.
You miss something, and you say, "I beg your pardon, could you please repeat your previous statement?"
I actually said something close to that once. The person looked at me like I was a Victorian lawyer.
The problem isn't being polite. Polite is great. The problem is formality. That phrase creates distance. It makes a tiny, normal moment feel like a formal event. What you want is something that keeps the conversation feeling easy and natural. So let's go through the 4 situations you'll actually be in.
Situation 1.
You completely missed what someone said. You heard it, but nothing registered. The most natural thing to say is something like, "Sorry, could you say that again?" That's it. 3 seconds. Or, "I missed that. Could you repeat it?" And here's one that sounds especially smooth in casual conversation. "I didn't quite catch that."
I didn't quite catch that. Why does that one feel different from just, I didn't catch that?
Because quite softens it. Adding quite makes it sound just a bit more relaxed. With quite, it says, "I almost got it. Something just slipped through." It's warm and casual. Nobody thinks twice about it. And the beautiful thing is, all 3 of those phrases work in any situation. At work, with friends, on the phone, anywhere.
Okay. Situation 2.
You heard most of it, but you lost just one part. maybe the last sentence, maybe one specific detail. This is actually the easiest situation to handle because you can be specific about exactly where you got lost. So instead of asking them to repeat everything, you say something like, "Sorry, I got most of that, but I missed the last part." Or, "Could you say the last bit again? I caught the beginning." Now the other person knows exactly where to pick up. They don't have to start over. And you're sending them a signal. "I was listening. I'm engaged. One small piece just slipped."
That's such a different impression from just, "Can you repeat that?" Which could mean you weren't paying attention at all.
Completely different. One sounds careful. The other can sometimes sound like you missed more than you actually did. Now, situation 3, and this is the one that trips people up the most.
What's situation 3?
You heard every word. You understood each word individually, but the sentence together makes no sense. You're lost not because of your English. It's the expression, the context, or the way they said it.
Let's play it by ear. Every time.
Exactly. Someone says, "Let's just play it by ear." And if you've never heard that phrase, you have no idea what's happening. Play it by ear means we'll decide as we go. No fixed plan. But asking them to repeat won't help here. You'll just hear the same confusing sentence again. So instead, you say something like, "Sorry, what does that mean exactly?" Or, "Could you put that a different way?" Or, "I'm not sure I followed that. Could you say more?"
I'm not sure I followed that. I love that one. It sounds like something a confident person would say.
That's exactly why it works. "I don't understand you" can feel like an accusation. "I didn't follow" puts it on the moment, not the person. The conversation just keeps moving.
And situation 4?
Situation 4. You think you understood, but you want to make sure before you act on it. You got the general idea, but the details are fuzzy. Here, you don't ask them to repeat, you reflect it back. You say something like, "So you mean," and then give your version. Or, just to make sure I got that, you're saying, you fill in what you understood. If you're right, they confirm. If you're off, they correct just that one piece. You're not asking them to start over. You're asking them to confirm or fix one specific thing. That's easy for them, and it tells you exactly where the gap is.
Because now they know precisely where to help you.
Right, and that's the most efficient way to close a gap in real time. Quick check before we keep going. Think about the last time you didn't understand something in English, not what you would say. What did you actually do in that moment? Because the next section is about the one habit that makes all of this harder than it needs to be. And it's not about the phrases.
Okay, I want to bring this one up. Because I think this is the part nobody talks about.
Go ahead.
Waiting. You miss something, and instead of asking right away, you tell yourself, maybe the next sentence will explain it. Maybe I'll figure it out from context. So you wait, and you keep waiting. And now 5 minutes have passed, and you have no idea what's happening.
And now asking feels impossible.
Because you'd have to say, "Sorry, can we go back to something from 5 minutes ago?" And that feels like stopping the whole conversation.
Which is 10 times harder than asking in the moment. Think about Kenji. He's in a team meeting at work. His manager explains a new process. Kenji misses one key detail in the first 30 seconds. He tells himself, "I'll figure it out." 2 minutes pass, then 5. Now he's completely lost, and everyone else is nodding along. After the meeting, he spends 40 minutes trying to find the answer on his own, rather than just asking one question that would have taken 10 seconds.
And the worst part, he probably got the answer wrong anyway.
He did. The rule is simple. The moment you feel the gap, that's the moment to ask. Not after the meeting, not in 5 minutes. Right then. Because every second you wait, the gap gets harder to go back to.
But what if you're in a group? You don't want to interrupt the whole room.
Two options. One, catch the person right after. Walk up and say something like, "Hey, I didn't quite follow that last part. Could you explain it?" Completely normal. Nobody thinks twice about it. Two, ask in the moment, but use a phrase that sounds careful rather than disruptive. Something like, "Before we move on, I just want to make sure I got that." That's not an interruption. That's someone paying attention. The room will appreciate it.
Nobody is going to be annoyed by that.
They're going to think, "Good, someone else probably had the same question."
True or false? Asking for clarification makes you look like you weren't paying attention. True or false? False. It's the opposite. Asking shows you were paying close enough attention to notice when something didn't land. The people who look like they weren't paying attention are the ones nodding at things they didn't understand.
Last situation, and I know some of you have already lived this one this week.
Oh no.
You nodded. You said yes. You smiled. And then you walked away and thought, "Wait, what did I just agree to?"
The internal panic is very real.
Think about Amara. She's in her second month at a new job. Her supervisor gives her instructions for a report. Format, deadline, who to send it to. Amara catches most of it, but misses the format detail. She says yes anyway, because she doesn't want to seem like she wasn't listening this early into a new job. She spends 3 hours building the report in the wrong format, has to redo the whole thing.
3 hours. Because she was afraid of 3 seconds of awkward.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Circling back feels embarrassing, but it is almost always better than the alternative. You go back and you say something like, "Actually, can I check something? I want to make sure I understood you correctly." Or, "Sorry, I think I nodded too fast. Could you say that again?" Or, "I said yes, but I didn't fully catch what you meant. Could you explain it?"
Isn't it awkward, though? Going back to someone after you already said yes?
For about 3 seconds. That's it. 3 seconds of slight awkwardness, and then the conversation moves on, and the problem is solved. Compare that to Amara's 3 hours, or showing up to the wrong floor, in the wrong building.
I need to let that go.
Never. And the people around you, colleagues, teachers, friends, they don't think less of you for circling back. Most people just appreciate that you want to get it right. That's what builds trust.
3 seconds of awkward versus potentially days of awkward.
Almost every time. Let's put it together. Logan, you're a colleague. You're briefing me about a project. Ready?
Ready. So, the client wants us to wrap up the project by end of quarter and loop in the stakeholders before we finalize anything.
Got most of that. Could you say the last part again? After end of quarter?
Of course, loop in the stakeholders before we finalize.
Sorry, and loop in means?
Include them. Keep them updated on what's happening.
Perfect. 2 phrases, back to back. Could you say the last part again? Then, and that means? The conversation didn't stop, it just corrected itself.
And you didn't sound lost. You sounded careful.
That's the whole point. And notice, no Victorian lawyer energy anywhere in that exchange.
0 Victorian lawyer.
Before we wrap up, think about this honestly. Has there been a moment recently, this week, this month, where you went quiet when you should have asked? Maybe at work, maybe with a friend, maybe on the phone. Just notice it. Because that moment, that specific moment where you stayed quiet, that's exactly where today's phrases live. That's when you need them. Not in a classroom, in that moment.
And now you have them.
Let's bring it together. Today, we went through 4 situations. When you missed everything, when you lost just one part, when you heard it but didn't understand it, and when you want to make sure you got it right.
And in every case, there's a phrase that sounds natural, not like a textbook, not like a Victorian lawyer, like a real person having a real conversation.
And the big shift: asking isn't proof your English is weak, it's proof you're paying attention. That's what people remember, not the question, the fact that you cared enough to ask it.
Your action step for this week: pick one phrase from today, just one, and use it in a real conversation before Friday. Order a coffee, talk to a colleague, message someone. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just use it once. Because that one use, in a real moment, is worth more than reviewing the phrase 100 times. And if you use it, come back and tell us which phrase you tried.
And here's your comment question. Has there ever been a moment where you went quiet when you should have asked, and it cost you? Tell us what happened. We read every comment, and judging by his meeting room history, Logan will probably relate.
Wrong floor, wrong building. I get it.
If this helped you, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. New episodes every week to help your English work in real life. And share this with one person you know who goes quiet when they don't understand. They probably need these phrases more than they think. And remember, the 2-second window is always there. Now you know what to say in it.
Ask anyway.
We'll see you soon.